Today is 21st of March. It's Tuesday, of course, and this is the Microsoft 365 Power Platform community call. Happens every single Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time with Microsoft speakers. And that means basically product managers across the Microsoft 365 Power Platform areas, so cloud advocates or engineers showcasing the art of possible within this within the Microsoft Cloud. Today, we'll do a typical set of latest news and updates, recapping some of the slides which you've seen if you've been in the past in these calls, but that's highly intentional. We do get feedback that in these calls we always have numerous new people, and it's always beneficial to recap where to get started and all of the different assets, and for example the podcast and so on, and other calls for them to know about them. And then we move into the group picture with together mode for those who are willing to enable the camera. We'll set that one up whenever the time is right, and then we'll go to the actual stars of today, starting with Garry Trinder around introduction to Copilot in Power Virtual Agents. Really cool stuff related on the announcements which Microsoft did last week. Then we'll have a recap on the additional Azure Communication Services features from Tomas, talking about the Azure Communication Services, which we've had a series of 8 actually sessions within this call. And then we'll move into Garry Trinder talking about the Teams Toolkit Learning Path, and in there we talk about adding a chat capability to Microsoft Teams app using Teams JavaScript client library. So a lot of cool stuff available today for sure. Now, let's then go through some of the typical assets. I'm not going to invest too much time in here, but we do have a YouTube channel where we will publish all of the community call recordings in 24 hours after the call has been recorded. So, word of a warning again, you cannot access the recording directly from chat right after the call, and that does not work for external people. So that's why we're publishing the recording in the YouTube in 24 hours. And as we're publishing that, you will get notified as a YouTube subscriber, hopefully, if you have subscribed, or then later on using the social media channels as we promote that recording to be available. We also have a LinkedIn group for discussions and updates. That's a great way of asking questions from different people from Microsoft and also from community. We have a lot of open source assets in GitHub, but as it might be a bit difficult to find the relevant sample for you, we are providing you sample galleries, which is the easiest way to find relevant sample for your use case. And if you're wondering that there's too many URLs to remember, it is a lot. We luckily have one URL where all of the assets and all of the things are available from AKMS Community Home. As mentioned, we have quite a few community calls with different presenters, different perspectives. This is the Tuesday call, every single Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Then we have the Power Platform, a monthly call, which happened last week with 670 attendees live in that call, which is super cool. We have Microsoft Identity Platform call, Office Silence monthly call, and then our 7 a.m. Thursday series, either being Microsoft 365 Power Platform community call or Viva Connection SharePoint Framework call. In those 7 a.m. Thursday series, the demos are typically done by the presenter. And that's why you can actually submit you to be a volunteer from those to present on those calls. Now, before we go there, just a recap on downloading the invites. You can go akms/community/calls. From there, you can download the recurrent invites. This week and last week is one of those crazy weeks where the time zone differences are a bit problematic because US moved to summertime already 1 week ago. Europe moves to summertime actually next Sunday, and after that we're in, so to say, in a normal time zone differences between US and Europe. Again, for example, India does not do summertime at all, which is, by the way, super smart. But that means that the time zones or the calls are switching a bit from within the calendar. Now, if you download the recurrent invite, it will adjust the time zones properly, so you know exactly when the calls are actually happening. And if you're wondering where could I see agendas for these things, we do publish them in social media, and then you can also register to the meetup. So akms/community/meetup. From there, we always week before, typically on Wednesday, Thursday on the previous week, we always share the agendas for upcoming community calls. So it's an easy way of knowing what's coming up. Now, as mentioned, you are welcome to demo on these calls, and depending obviously on the topic what you have and what you build will then set you up on the right call. It might be the Power Platform monthly call, it might be the Thursday Power Platform community or Microsoft 365 SharePoint Framework development call, or if you're a Microsoft presenter, you are welcome to join on the Tuesday call. Typically the Microsoft call setup is being done outside of this forum, but hey, it is welcome to submit and use this form as well. We do have a lot of assets available to getting started, and especially on the Microsoft 365, you can get a free Microsoft 365 E5 tenant just to register to the Microsoft 365 developer program. And there's a lot of learning material available in the Microsoft Learn across all of these materials, so please do take advantage of those as well. Now, we do have a lot of podcasts, weekly podcasts actually available. So we do have our Microsoft 365 developer podcast hosted by Jeremy Fake or Aisha Bass or Paul Schaffelin. And that's happening typically in every single week with the partner interviews and what's happening within the partner ecosystem. We have also our Microsoft 365 PMP Weekly with the episode 202 went live earlier today. And that's hosted by Waldek Mastergaards and yours truly, Vesa Juvonen. And then we have the Platform Connections weekly show hosted by Hugo Bernier and David Warner. So cool things to follow and subscribe to keep up to date on what's happening within the community. Now, I did mention the samples already. We have a lot of samples for you to get started. And that's actually really, really one of the key benefits being up to date and following up on what's happening within the community. So as you have that customer requirement or your manager comes to you and says, we need to build this kind of a Power Platform capability, guess what? Maybe somebody has already done that. Maybe you can find a starting point. Maybe you can find something which is 50% of actually what is being asked for you to build, or as a starting point for polishing that up as your solution. And that's why we have all of the samples available. So if you go AKMS/community/samples, you will find 1,527, if I remember correctly, samples today from that one centralized location. Makes it super easy to build experiences within the Microsoft Cloud. Now, as you find the sample, and the samples are actually stored in a GitHub, and that might be a hurdle for some of the attendees within this call, but we got you covered there as well, and I will let David Warner to talk about what is Sharing is Caring initiative.
Awesome, thank you, Vesa. And he mentioned 1,500 plus samples. You heard that right, 1,500 plus samples, record scratch. Now, how you use those samples? How do you contribute to those samples? How do you get more involved with the community? That's a labyrinth that might be a little confusing to you. And as he mentioned, Sharing is Caring is here to take care of you. These are live hands-on sessions, which means that we join a Teams call together. We work through how to do things like submit your first pull request or understand all what those terms mean in GitHub. And we're going to do it together. And it's not going to be recorded. So it's a safe space opportunity. There's lots of MVPs that join, Microsoft employees, and members of the community. So definitely get registered. We've got scheduled for April. And we're retooling that general first-time contributor, by the way. We just tested some new things with the MVPs, so we're really excited about that. Look for new dates coming for that in April. ak.ms/sharing is caring. Vesa, back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, David. On that one, the crowd goes wild. Awesome stuff. Now, let's move on for a few updates and announcements. Now, one of the new things which is happening on March 29th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, we will have a special event around building once deploy efficiently connect across Microsoft 365, really focusing on the awesome capabilities what we have in Microsoft 365. We're going to announce some new capabilities, new things as well for developers who are building their solutions, which are then extending not only in Teams and different capabilities, but also across Outlook and Office and so on. So really cool event happening at 9 a.m. March 29th of 2023. So within 1.5 weeks, unless I'm completely mistaken, something like that. Now, we also have really, really cool Microsoft 365 conference coming up, and there has been some agenda updates on this one, and there's a massively cool keynote speaker lineup on this one. So there will be actually, if I remember correctly, 3 or 4 keynotes, which will be combined with Jeff Teeper, Kirk Cohen-Power, Rasha Shah, Charles Lamana, Caruana, and Dan Holm. So covering Microsoft Viva, Microsoft Teams, Microsoft SharePoint, Microsoft Power Platform, all up in a 3-day open conference at Las Vegas MGM Grand on May 2nd to May 4th. So please do take advantage of this one. There's going to be super cool new features and capabilities announced within a keynote, and then there will be a special deep dive sessions about those new capabilities, which might be related on some of the AI stuff, some of the advanced capabilities, and all of that, what we have been announcing within the past weeks as well. Awesome stuff. We also have the European Collaboration Summit coming up on end of May, where we have also more than 30 Microsoft employees involved. So there will be people flying from Redmond and flying from Europe to that location. And that, by the way, this conference only have 253 seats, an update from today, and they're going to max out, I think, in 2,500 attendees later this week. So if you're looking into going to Düsseldorf in the end of May, please take advantage of that one. You don't want to miss out a really, really cool community-driven event, which is a non-profit event, and that's why the prices or the cost of this conference is relatively small. There's also the Great 365 EduCon conferences coming up. The first one there this year is June 12th to 16th in 2023 at DC. So please check out that option as well. And then later on in June, we have the European Power Platform Conference in Dublin in the 20th to 22nd of June as well. So really, really great opportunities. Now, there's a lot of also community organized free or virtual or in-person conferences happening all around the world. These are great opportunities to meet people in person or hang with the people in a virtual conferences as well. So please do take advantage of that. That was a bit of a beeping moment, maybe on the. And there we go. Now we can continue. Sorry for that. Now, there was some disturbance in the broadcasting of this radio show. This is not a radio show. Anyway, the latest news on the blog posts, and there was 4 different news on the Microsoft 365 developer blog related on tailored SDKs experiences, as Kyoto is now generally available. There's a new Microsoft Teams app camp in a box, which is now available, which is really cool as well. So you can actually redeliver as a trainer that Microsoft Teams app camp setup, which has been created by Bob German and a lot of our awesome cloud advocates. There was recent changes announced for data visibility in Microsoft Graph Caller Records. And then there's a really cool new setup around Viva Connections Toolkit for Visual Studio Code, which is now in preview with 8 different videos done by David Hugo and yours truly, explaining how that tooling can be used within your development. On the other blogs, there was really, really cool announcement as well. I'm just going to call out the Copilot in Viva Engage, which is not a developer topic, but it's really, really cool to see those open AI and AI integrations coming up more and more in the solutions as well. Now, quick recap also on Teams developer platform updates by Surbhi, and then we'll do a group photo after that.
Thank you, Vesa. Hello, everyone. We have a very quick update today. Bots and message extensions are now available in DoD. Please go ahead and check out this section of the documentation. If you have any feedback or suggestion, please post on aka.ms Teams platform feedback. The link is available in the footer. You could also configure to the RSS feed to get regular platform updates. Thank you, and back to you, Vesa.
Thank you, Surbhi, on that one. And then let's do a quick group photo for those who are willing to enable their camera. Let me do that as well. And let me move the picture in here and switch the view. Don, you're in some sort of a weird black and white world. Together mode, yes, indeed. What are we gonna? I like this one the best for whatever reason. Auditorium Gold. Everybody looks so good in here. Hopefully we'll get rid of the pixelation a bit. It's getting better. Here we go. Let's close that one as well. That's a lot of people ready to go. Do we have any free seats? Few more. Let me put the recording on, and let's do some hand waving, everybody. Thank you. I can see some dogs on the screen as well. Awesome. Thank you, Eric, on bringing the animals on the show as well. Thanks everybody for joining. Awesome to have you on the call once again. And hopefully we'll see you in person later on the spring in those conferences. Excellent. Thank you. We'll do a GIF animation out of that. And then right on time, we are ready to go with the real stars of today. We'll start with Garry Trinder around the introduction to Copilot in Power Virtual Agent. Some of the really, really cool announcements from last week. Right, Garry?
Awesome. Yes, thanks so much. Hi, folks. It's fantastic to be here. I'm delighted to be here to talk to you about the new Copilot feature in Power Virtual Agents. For those of you who were on last week's call, you will have heard from my colleague, Dwayne Robinson, who was talking about our other GPT feature, Boost Conversations. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we're going to jump into just a little bit of a recap and then into a live demo. Okay.
I got the screen. Take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So just to recap what Dwayne was talking about last week, we have actually announced 2 GPT-powered features within Power Virtual Agent in the last, 10 days. And the first one is Boost Conversations, which was the demo last week. Boost Conversations, for those of you who aren't familiar, is the ability for you to, when you build a bot, you have to add topics for every single thing you want the bot to do, or maybe connected up to some kind of external knowledge base, which then you need to manage and make sure it's kept up to date, etc. And one of the biggest problems and biggest hurdles to value is the fact that your bot is not that useful right out of the box. You can make it incredibly useful very quickly with Power Virtual Agents, and that's our USP. But actually, what if we could make that even better? And that's exactly what Boost Conversations does. So now when you create your bot, you can add a URL to your website. Currently, that's available in public preview. And we also have limited previews where you can point to an internal website or even multiple sources. And what's actually going to happen in the background is we're then going to, if we can't find a topic that you've built to answer your user's query, then we'll actually use Boost Conversations, which will use Bing to search across that website, get all of the sort of relevant information back that it can find from maybe multiple different places on the within the website's content, and then summarize all of that information with GPT. And it really is truly incredible what this feature actually does right out of the box. I would encourage you all to, go sign up, create a bot, just point it at, Microsoft.com or your own website, and just try asking it some questions. The ability to increase the scope of your bot and the ability for it to respond to almost any query about your business almost instantly is just phenomenal. So I would encourage you all to try that. Okay. So, but why am I here this week? Well, this week I'm here to talk about the second feature, which we announced last Thursday, alongside all of the other Copilot news that Microsoft announced. And specifically, I'm talking about Copilot in Power Virtual Agents. So for those topics where you don't want to have the Boost Conversations answer, where you want a specific use case for your bot, you will build a topic in Power Virtual Agents. Now, traditionally, what that looks like is I'm going to start from scratch. I start with an empty authoring canvas, and then I'm going to start to add messages, questions, conditions, etc., to actually build out my topic. Whereas now, using Copilot, I can simply describe what I want to build, and PVA and the Copilot will build it for me in seconds. And then even after that, it doesn't stop there, because once I'm actually in the authoring canvas and I've built a new topic using Copilot, or even maybe I'm working with one of the topics that I've already built, months ago in my bot, I can then continue to iterate using Copilot as well. So this isn't just about creation, it's about iteration. And the new Copilot pane alongside your authoring canvas allows you to then continually make changes, maybe add additional nodes, add message variations to your content, etc. And we're incredibly excited about this. Already, I was looking at some figures earlier today, and we think we've saved hundreds of developer hours using this feature in the few days since we launched. So we're incredibly excited about the reaction to it so far. So rather than just talk about it, let's actually jump into a live demo, and I can show you what Copilot does. Okay, so here I'm in a vanilla bot, a bot that I've just created inside of PVA, and you can see here that I've still got my few topics that come out of the box: goodbye, greeting, start over, and thank you. And I've got 3 lesson topics as well, right? But there's nothing beyond what I get out of the box in a bot. So now I'd like to start to add some content. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to head up to this new topic button. And now I get 2 choices. I can start from scratch, which is still perfectly valid, and using all of the awesome tools that we've got in the new unified canvas, you can certainly get to value very, very quickly. But today I'm going to choose to use Create with Copilot. And Create with Copilot allows me to simply provide 2 things: a topic title and a topic description. And from that, we will go ahead and generate all of the trigger phrases for your topic. We'll generate any appropriate nodes to essentially give you, hopefully, a fully working topic right out of the box. So let's assume that I am building a bot for Contoso Airlines, and specifically maybe Contoso Airlines it's a bot to enable passengers at a particular airport to be able to check the status of their flight, maybe find flights, etc. So the first topic that I want to build here, and it's a topic actually that when I've been demoing PVA over the last 18 months, I've built from scratch. It's the ability for somebody to check the status of a flight. So first of all, we'll give it a name, check flight status. And then I need to describe the topic that I want to build. And here I could be extremely vague. I could just say, create a topic that lets the user check the status of a flight. And if I do that, we're going to use GPT to actually go, okay, well, what types of information, what types of question would a user need to provide, right? Or we can be more specific. And our recommendation is definitely try and be a little bit specific in terms of what you're asking for. So here I'm going to just paste in the interest of time. And you can see here what I've said, let the user check the status of a flight. Collect the airline, but then I've actually gone further. I've said choosing from airlines that fly from Terminal 2 to Manchester, UK. So I'm using the power of GPT and the fact that it has knowledge of the sort of wider world. Then I can say collect the flight number and the date. And just like that, with one sentence, I can hit create. And what's going to happen is just a few seconds, hopefully, we'll be taken to the new unified authoring canvas, where I would land if I was creating a topic from scratch. But instead of starting from scratch, what I'm actually presented with is an entire topic. You can see here that it's created appropriate trigger phrases for me, all generated via GPT using the context of just that description and the title. So you can see here, what's the status of my flight? Can you tell me the status of my flight? But not only that, but it's created the question nodes that I need as well. So it's created a multiple choice question node, and it's gone off into sort of the GPT model, and it's extracted the airlines that fly from Terminal 2 to Manchester, which is just awesome, right? I mean, it just gives me such a head start rather than me needing to build this question myself. It's created the output variable for me on that question as well. And then it's also created those follow-up questions. What is the flight number and what is the flight date? So that's awesome. It's even created a summary message for me at the end, which references all of those variables that I'm going to get back from those questions. So really excited about that. Although that's something I could build in a few minutes, it's just a huge accelerator for me. So what else can I do now? Well, you can see here over on the right-hand side that I've got the new Copilot pane that I mentioned before in the authoring canvas. And on here, I can see, well, what did I ask for previously? What was the last thing I asked for? And, what were the changes that were made as a result of that? I can see them in the authoring canvas, so I can actually correlate the two together. I can also see some examples of the types of things that I can say for iteration commands, if you like, if I'm making changes or updates to a topic. And then here you can see that I can actually now just type what I'd like to do next. And it's an important point. This is intended to be used in collaboration with the existing authoring tools. So right now, Copilot doesn't know about everything that PVA can do, but we've trained it on the common core tasks. And obviously, we'll be adding more to it over time. But some things are simply just more efficient to do via the authoring canvas, and some things will be more efficient to do via Copilot. One that is hugely beneficial for authors is when we look to add message variations. So for those of you who don't know, in questions and messages in PVA in the new canvas, I can add multiple variants to each message so that if a user comes back and visits my bot again, it's going to pick one of those at random, and my bot's going to sound a little bit less stale or rigid if I'm following through the same sort of flow. But adding those variations and coming up with different ways of saying the same thing can take some time. Well, not anymore, because now I can say add message variations to all of the questions. I can click update. That's going to take just a few seconds. It's going to pass the existing topic that I already have as context into the OpenAI model behind the scenes. And then it's going to send back updated YAML. There's actually YAML that's sat behind this topic. And you can see here that it's gone ahead and it's added additional variations for me. I could even be more specific. I saw an awesome example the other day where one of my colleagues was demoing around a themed hotel, and they said, change all of the questions to sound like they're in Old English. And instead of asking for your name, it said, "Who art thou?" And so those sorts of things can be again, an incredible time saver, an incredible accelerator. So another thing that you can actually do here, we've gone ahead and we've actually saved ourselves a lot of time by adding those message variations to all of the questions. I can actually scope my requests as well. So I can actually select one or more nodes, and you can see here now that I've selected this multiple choice node, here it says on the Copilot pane, it says one node has been selected. What that means is I can now actually just make changes to an individual node. A simple example here would be, add Virgin Atlantic as an option. Now, I know that's not really going to take me long to do via the authoring canvas, but it's a good example of how you can scope down your request and say, I only want to change this particular node or these nodes. So you can see that it's added Virgin Atlantic for me there as well. The last one that I'm going to show you inside this topic before I finish with something that we added relatively recently is, I think this summary message is awesome. It's great, right? The fact is I'm going back to the user and I'm saying, okay, yes, we can check the status of a flight, but I'm actually going to remove this. And I'm going to instead say, look, summarize the information collected in an adaptive card. I can go ahead and click update. And hopefully what that's going to do is it's going to add an extra message to the bottom of my topic. And not only will it add the message node and reference the variables that I have on my topic, but it's also built the JSON for the adaptive card for me, which is just awesome. Previously I would have to jump out into the designer, create that from scratch, whereas now I've got a starting point, and if I want to update it, I can take that JSON, use it in the designer, and update it from there. Okay, so you've seen me there in just a few minutes with all of the explanation create a working topic, and something that would have taken me a lot longer had I tried to do it manually. I'm going to finish off with one more example. And instead, I'm going to create a topic. And this time I'm going to say, am I a millennial? That's my topic title. OK. And for the request, I'm going to say, oh, let's not do that. There we go. Ask the user for their age, and depending on their answer, tell them what category they fall into, for example, millennial, and then also tell them a fun fact about their category. And the key difference here is I'm asking it to branch my logic within my topic. So let's go ahead and hit create, and we'll see what it comes up with. So again, just a few seconds, and actually what it's done there is it's gone away, it's asked me the question for age, and then it's created a series of complex conditions with multiple clauses in many of those conditions based on its own wider world knowledge of the different categories for someone's age. And then it's even included messages for fun facts depending on what category you actually fall into. Now, obviously, in reality, this is a bit of a weird topic to have in a bot, but I think it's a great example of how we can now really save ourselves time. I mean, this would take me, quite some time to actually put together and go and actually find that knowledge and, start gathering those facts. This is just an awesome head start for me. So I think with that, I'm all done. Hopefully that's been a good overview of Copilot in Power Virtual Agents. Please, please, please go try this in the Unified Authoring Canvas preview today. We can't wait to see what you build. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Garry, on that one. Really, really, really cool stuff, and really shows the power of the AI behind the scenes, helping you to be more productive. Super, super cool. Now, then, Tomas. So let's jump, Tomas, on your screen and move on doing updates on the Azure Communication Services.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the introduction. What they are going to show today is the final part of the series that was running around for the last 1.5 months. It was about building application with Azure Communication Services and Teams to connect them together. I will be presenting part of the presentation today, and the second part will be hosted by David. We will show you what advanced features we are providing with Azure Communication Services. First, I want to just wrap up what we saw in the last few series. So we had six dedicated videos about how to bring ACS or Azure Communication Services application, how to set it up, and how to bring integrate it into website that is connected to Microsoft Teams. So someone from any product, for example, website, can join a Teams meeting whereas people in using Microsoft Teams application can have it in native experience. We showed you how to dynamically get the Teams meeting set up and the URL, how to create the identity so that you can join it from the custom website, and then how to deploy it in Azure so it's final product that you can use in real life. So image or one video will say much more than what I can summarize. So let's go through what was the final outcome of the scenario. This is the custom website. This is running locally. You can see that it's using Azure Communication Services to join specific meeting. On the other side, there's a Teams application. You can see a calendar event in your calendar. When you click on it, you will join Teams meeting as it is scheduled. There's Aicha that is having the join Teams meeting. She admits the user from the custom application, and now they are in the same call. So this was the experience that you were able to build from the last 6 series. There's also a tutorial how to build each individual step with videos and guidelines. So if you want, this is really a good way how to start. Let me go to the next phase. So first of all, I would like to just bring you a little bit the introduction into Azure Communication Services. What does it do? So what you saw is that it allows you to bring communication to Microsoft Teams. There are overall 3 big scenarios that we are enabling. The first one is virtual appointments, where you have something that you schedule in the future, where you know when it will happen and you want to connect with someone in business. So on the second scenario is click to call, where you want to have on-demand interaction with someone on the business, and the third one is product integrations. If you have existing product and you would like to enrich this product with communication, audio, video, or chat communication, or SMS, for example. What type of products do we use in Microsoft for providing communication? The first one what we are using all right now is the Microsoft Teams. So this is the application that you can use. We have Microsoft Graph API that's providing the RESTful API so you can get more context from the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. We have Dynamics 365 as the contact center solution. And the last one is the Azure Communication Services that is powering all of those technologies to have REST APIs, SDKs available for you so that you can use multiple communication channels to enrich your application. So just shortly talk about Azure Communication Services itself. What we have covered is really just the audio, video, and chat. But as you can see, we have a lot of APIs so that you can enrich your experiences. We have features such as we are connecting to phone numbers, SBCs. We are running call recording, call automation, so you can control the calls of the server side. From the messaging, we have SMS, chat, and email. So there's a really lot of APIs that you can customize and tailor to your needs. What is important, interesting part about it is we are integrating with Azure Services, Microsoft 365, and Power Platform. So on Microsoft 365 integrations, we are talking about the scenario that we have showed you during the last series, where you have custom application that is connected to Microsoft Teams. You can think about healthcare application where patient is talking to doctor, or bank clerk is talking to client, or you have presentation of new products. This is what we have covered and the application of the Teams meeting integration. And what is new will be covered by David, my colleague.
Hey, so we've also started to bring in more integrations into the Power Platform ecosystem. This starts with connectors across our SMS, email, and chat services so that you can send and receive messages through Power Platform. And we're starting to extend out into components as well over the coming months. These are the current set of connectors, actions, and triggers that we provide. So again, across SMS, email, chat, we have a variety of connectors for you to be able to send messages directly through Power Automate. We've also started to generate ones for identity so that you can also automate identity and authentication flows. And we're starting to also go into calling. And so you can see which ones are in progress there and which ones are generally available. We're actually excited to announce our Receive SMS connector went into preview just a couple of days ago. So we're pretty excited about bringing that one for customers who have been asking for it. We've also started to take a look at our integration into Power Apps and Power Pages. We keep hearing from customers the feedback to be able to bring in out-of-the-box calling and chat experiences into their apps. And so we've started to work through the first set of PCF components. We actually we'll share the link in the chat, but we actually have the first sets prototypes of them that you can start using today. They're based on our UI library for Azure Communication Services, so they're fully accessible, localizable, etc. And we have them working inside of Power Apps and Power Pages. Now I'll run into a small demo, kind of showcase some of the work that we've been doing here and some of the use cases. So this is a sample app here that we've created for Contoso Gym. So imagine you are a business, you built out a Power App in order to allow your customers to sign up at your gym. So you show up to the gym, there's maybe a tablet or something on the desk, you're able to fill out your information, and you want to be able to kind of communicate with those customers. So what we've done here is we have kind of the main app, and I'll kind of show what happens when I run through it. So I want to just briefly put my name in, put a phone number, put an email, and it asks me to choose my trainer. So I want to choose Arnold Schwarzenegger because I'm a Terminator fan. And I'm going to sign up. And so behind the scenes, what this app is doing is that it's triggering a number of different notifications out with my sign up information. It's also using our PCF components to directly show us a chat conversation that I can have with a trainer directly so that I can ask questions. You might have seen that on my phone that I got the notification of the actual. So I also got a notification on my phone with the notification from the gym. And so I'm able to kind of do that omni-channel notification across chat, SMS, as well as email for my customers. What we've done next is imagine that at Contoso Gym, you want to be able to provide your customers a personalized experience. And so what we've done is we have an OpenAI bot here that is trained to act like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so what I'm able to do is I'm able to text Arnold, for example, hey, Arnold, I want to go to the gym. And what we're doing behind the scenes that we're using those Power Automate connectors that we talked about, like Receive SMS, Send SMS, to be able to have Arnold be able to talk to me and respond to my request. And we're doing the same thing here on chat. And again, we're using our PCF components right on the page, right inside of the writing here to be able to have Arnold be able to talk back to me. And so just to show you a little bit of how these are working behind the scenes, we have a couple of different flows that we're leveraging behind the scenes that I wanted to kind of walk through. So the first one is this flow here, where we are using Power Apps to trigger that flow, and then using our Power Automate connectors for creating identities to first of all create a user token for our ACS user. And then we're storing some of that information into an Azure table so that we can track all the users that we have on our gym system, be able to track their information as well as their Azure Communication Services ID. We're then triggering a child flow right here, which is called welcome notification, which is actually taking care of kind of our omni-channel notification. So here we're using our 3 connectors, one for email, one for SMS, and one for chat, to send out a omni-channel message across all those different channels for our customer. We're able to customize the messages across each of them, but you can see how easy it is to kind of bring in those capabilities with just a single connector to be able to talk to our different customers. Finally, in order to power the interaction that you saw here, where I'm able to talk to the bot and get answers back, we're leveraging Event Grid in this case to be able to receive our SMS and then we're triggering a flow where we are making a call to OpenAI to help us generate a prompt and help us generate an answer back to the user based on the prompt that we've designed, which just tells the bot to act like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and we have some quotes for it. And then we're using those same connectors that we saw before, across SMS and chat, to actually speak back to the user. So again, just to recap, we have connectors across SMS, email, chat. We're able to automate the flows to create things like tokens for our users so that we can authenticate them into Azure Communication Services. And we're able to do all of that directly through Power Automate and be able to trigger those flows through Power Apps. And in addition to that, as you can see, we have our PCF components, in this case for chat, which you're able to drag and drop onto your page and be able to configure to be able to quickly add chat into your application.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, David. Really, really cool stuff. Awesome, awesome. Crowd goes wild again.
Thank you very much, Vesa.
That's actually the PCF components are actually super, super cool as well. And the connectivity with connectors, all of that spot on. So absolutely brilliant stuff. So thank you for both. Now, as a final topic of today, Garry, we're gonna continue with our series in the Teams Toolkit.
Hello. Yes, we are. Okay, let's share my screen.
Yep, all good. Take it away.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Garry Trinder. I'm a cloud developer advocate at Microsoft. And as Vesa mentioned, this is another session in the Teams Toolkit Learn path. Today, we're going to be covering how to add chat capabilities to your Microsoft Teams app using the Teams JavaScript client library. So as I mentioned, this is part of the Learn path, which is build and deploy apps for Microsoft Teams using Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio Code. So if you've been following along for the last few weeks, you know that we've covered quite a few weeks. If this is the first time that you've seen one of those sessions, then there is content already available for you to consume because we've already started with week one. We kind of got started with Teams Toolkit, how to install it and how to create a project from the sample gallery. Then the next week, I showed you how to build a bot using Toolkit. Then we moved on to building tabs. Had a week off, and then this week we are at the Teams JavaScript library stage. And next week we'll be talking about how to deploy and publish the apps that we are creating using Teams Toolkit into our Microsoft 365 tenants and Azure. So week 4, this is where we are at the moment. If you want to, go and take a look at this Learn path, it is all live. If you go to aka.ms/learn/Teams Toolkit, you'll find all of the Learn path information and modules. So Teams Toolkit. Just a bit of a quick recap. What is Teams Toolkit? So Teams Toolkit is a Visual Studio Code extension.
Let's go!
Incredible audio there. That's not thrown me off at all. You've got Visual Studio Code extension if you're a JavaScript or TypeScript developer and you're on Windows or macOS and Linux. Teams Toolkit Visual Studio Code is the tool for you. It's going to help you create, build and deploy your apps much easier and faster than doing it on your own. And there's also the Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio 2022. So if you're .NET and C# developer and just on Windows using Visual Studio, then take a look at the toolkit for Visual Studio. Although for this series, we're just concentrating on Visual Studio Code extension at the moment. So moving on, just some prerequisites of the things that I'm going to show you is obviously we need a Microsoft 365 tenant with the ability to upload custom apps. You obviously need Visual Studio Code for Teams Toolkit because it's a Visual Studio Code extension. And because we're doing JavaScript development, you'll also need Node installed. Node 16 and above will be fine. So onto the topic of today, what is the Teams JavaScript library? Well, it's a JavaScript library that can be used to integrate native functionality from Microsoft Teams into your own applications. So being able to reuse some of the things that your end users would use on a daily basis, like maybe a people picker, lots of other features in there. You can reuse these components so that you don't have to build things from scratch. You can just use things that are already natively available to you as a developer in the platform to build your own apps and make them more consistent and user friendly. And as well as being able to use different components, it actually provides you with helpers as well. That makes it easy to access the context in which your app is running. So if you're running in Teams, do you want to access the IDs of that team, SharePoint URLs maybe in the background as well, and the library helps you with that. So how do you get a hold of the library? How do you install it in your projects? You can install it from npm or using Yarn, or if you're not using a package manager at all, you can simply reference the JavaScript file from the Office CDN. In terms of Teams Toolkit, this is already provided for you, so you don't actually have to do the install. When you create a new tab project, it's already there and available, installed, ready for you to use. Now, the Teams JavaScript client library has a number of APIs, and they're grouped into what are called capabilities. And these capabilities are provided to access different types of functionality within Teams. So you can see we've got a number of different capabilities. We've got capabilities such as chat and calendar, being able to use dialogues, maybe checking profiles or using the search capability in Teams as well. Lots of different capabilities in there, but the first capability that you're going to start with is the app capability. And the reason for that is because you have to initialize the library if you want to use it. So first of all, if you want to use the library, you need to import the app namespace and then initialize the library calling the initialize function. So this is a JavaScript promise, so you can use async await with this. Now, after the library is initialized, then you can actually start to use some of the functions on these capabilities. You know that they're actually going to work. So a common kind of starting point is the ability to get context of your app, and you can do that by calling the get context function. And context is really good, and there's lots of there's lots of information in here. Here's just a few that I wanted to highlight. So you've got the ability to get information about the host of where your app is running. So information about Teams, whether that is the web client, whether it's the desktop. The context of the team itself. Say your tab's running in a channel in a team, to access that underlying team information, the current user information as well, and also the underlying SharePoint site as well that backs that team. So there are a few other objects on there, so do check that out. But it's very, very useful. Lots of information in there. So now that we understand how to initialize the library and actually use the get context function to get that understanding of the environment that our app is running in, using other capabilities. So here is an example of using the chat capability. Let's say we want to create a new chat from our application. See here we've got a chat that's already been created. It's got more than one recipient in there. It's got some default text in there as well to send in the message. And we can do that using the Teams JavaScript library by importing the chat namespace And then what we do is we just make sure that this capability is actually supported in the host that their application is running in. And we do this just in case, say, for example, you've got your web application, you might be running outside of Teams. If this is running outside of Teams, this is just going to return false. If it's inside Teams, it's true. Then we can safely move to actually use some of the functionality on this capability. So in this example, we can use open group chat, and we can pass in a collection of users to add into the chat. We can pass in a title and a message. Really, really simple way of being able to add, a nice native capability into your app. Now, over the last few weeks, we've kind of talked about a support scenario, so I just wanted to go back to that. So in this scenario, it might be that you've got a tab that's helping you manage support tickets, and as an employee, you can see a support tickets in there, and you might want to start a chat with the engineer that's been assigned to your ticket. Just being able to create a simple integration by putting a button on a page that's able to start that chat, maybe pre-populate that initial starting message with some information about the support ticket, and just helps streamline that process. And again, it's keeping everyone in Teams as well, not have to jump around into different applications here. So with that, let's move on to a demo of how all this actually works. So in front of you, you should see Visual Studio Code on my left, and I've got a browser window on the right with just a very simple tab running in Teams. So on the left, I have already created a new project using Teams Toolkit. I've just created a project using the tab template, and this has scaffolded me a basic project, and I've got a tab component here which represents the actual tab, our user interface. I've opened the package.json because I just want to show you the Teams JS reference in there. It's already added it in as a dependency. So at this point, all I did was I just created the app. I hit F5, Teams Toolkit did all the hard work for me in the background, and I've sideloaded my app into Teams, and now I can see my tab, and I've got a development server running as well. So any changes that I make automatically appear in the browser window without me actually having to refresh that. So let's just take a look at the tab that we've got at the moment. It's very simple. We've just got a button which has an on-click event handler that calls start chat function, which has nothing in it. So it just doesn't do anything. So let's set up a scenario where when I click the button, I'll get a people picker, and the people who I choose in that picker, it's going to create a chat for them in Teams. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to copy and paste some code, and I'm going to put that into the start chat function, and I'm going to hit save. So you can see it's compiling, and the change will be made. Oh, yes, missed a step. That was definitely meant to happen. Check the imports. There we go. I got ahead of myself. There we are. I save the file again. That will update. So as I mentioned, you need to import the app capability for us to initialize the library and get our context. And I've also included the people and the chat capability in here so that we can just check and call the is supported function, which exists on all of these capabilities, just to see, are they both supported? So in this case, they're both going to return true. Then we're going to use the people picker, the select people function. We're just going to launch a people picker. We're going to get the results. In this case, I'm just going to check if we have anyone who doesn't have an email address. We're just going to remove them from the list because we can't actually send them a message. And then we're going to use the open group chat function on the chat capability, passing in this array of users, and a topic, which is going to be the title of the chat, and then a message. And if I scroll along on the message, we have some context in there as well. So it's going to tell us what host is it running in, and whether it's going to be on the web client or whether it's going to be on the desktop as well. So I've saved that. So if I click Start Chat, I've now got a native dialog box, and I can just search for people in here. So let's do Adele and Nesta, and of course Megan. Can't forget Megan. Click Done, and this is going to create a chat. So it's already added the 3 people in that I wanted, and I picked in the people picker, and then it's notice in here that we've got Teams web client in there, so it's pulled from context. And then I can click send, and that's going to send that message, and it's also going to create the chat as well. So you can see, really quite simple way of being able to integrate some native capabilities of Teams into your app using the Teams JavaScript library in just a few lines of code. Saves you a lot of hassle trying to create all this from scratch. Okay, back to the slides. Just to finish off with, there's plenty of resources available. I'm going to put these links into the into the description of the video when it's onto YouTube, and also put it in the chat as well. Just a reminder, so this is again part of the Learn path. So please, if you're interested, if you haven't looked at it yet, go check that out, aka.ms/learn/Teams Toolkit. And next week, we will be covering the final module, which is deploying and publishing your Teams app to your organizational store and to Azure as well, using Teams Toolkit. And with that, yeah, done.
Excellent. Thank you, Garry. Really awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So just to recap, thank you, Garry. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Garry as well. And also we had David actually helping Thomas on that demo. So awesome work. Great demos today. Awesome, a lot of great stuff shown and new stuff getting people excited on this cloud capabilities. Now, next week we have 3 demos already queued up. On 28th of March, we'll talk about SharePoint Framework 1.17 with live demos from engineering, which is cool as well. There's a lot of Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Viva capabilities in there. Rapep is going to talk about Kyoto SDK generator, which is the SDK generator for Microsoft Graph, which is now available, and she will talk about what you need to know and what does it actually provide you within the context of Microsoft Graph. And then Garry is going to talk about the deployment of Microsoft Teams app to the Azure using the Teams toolkit for Visual Studio Code. So that's the last step on that particular series, which Garry showed on the agenda as well. So that's on 28th of March. We do have Thursday call 7 a.m. Pacific time this week as well, and that's about SharePoint Framework and Viva Connection and extensibility. Now, on this recording will be available within 24 hours at the Microsoft 365 Power Platform community YouTube channel at akms/community/videos. If you subscribe there today, you will get notified whenever the video is available. We'll also push out social media updates as we get the stuff released within 24 hours, as I said. The next call is the 28th of March. And all the available calls are available on akms/community/call. Do download the recurrent invite from there. That is adjusted automatically with the time zones. That helps on tracking whenever the call is actually happening. Now, as mentioned when we started the call, Europe moves to summertime this Sunday, and that means that the calls are a bit again shifted next week potentially. So do double check your calendar for the exact timing of the calls. But thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for awesome presenters today. Thank you for lovely and interactive discussion on the chat. So thanks everybody for being involved in this, and do keep the feedback coming. We are building Microsoft 365 and Power Platform capabilities for you. So we need to know what works and what doesn't. Awesome. Thanks everybody.
Let's go team, let's go.